So Sharon, I didn't have vitiligo till I was 21 years old. So I never really
Wow.
experienced, yeah, I never really experienced any discussions as such where it came to inequality or discrimination or looking different, because essentially I didn't have any issues with my body. And even like within like the family and the family circle, you know, we never really had these kind of discussions talking about what people look like. The only other thing you'd hear is like "Ginni soni lagdiya" all the time from all the auntiya, all the uncles at weddings. When you were dressed up, you know, when you looked a certain way, you'd always hear "Ginni sonia," and if you didn't really look that part, you wouldn't hear that comment. So when it came to kind of growing up, I'd say I had pretty much a really happy childhood,
Mhm.
and I didn't have to experience any of these kinds of conversations.
Mm.
I mean, it might have been conversations that my parents would have experienced, but as a child, I didn't really experience any of that.
Oh wow, that's amazing. So, so that's something I didn't know, that you can get this condition at
Yeah,
any time. So that's
yeah.
something that I have not heard, and it hasn't definitely hasn't come up in conversation. So, do you know how it comes about? Does
There is no diagnosis for vitiligo. And and you know what, Sharon, you know, people in the Indian community, in the South Asian community, they'll always have their views. Oh, you know what? It's got to be because, you know, fish and cheese were mixed together. Or maybe, yeah, there's always been this thing about mixing fish and milk together,
right?
dairy products and milk, of fish and milk together, which people believe is like a myth that that causes vitiligo. And there's so many other things as well that people say, myths that they believe in within our culture, that this is why vitiligo can happen. But there is no diagnosis for vitiligo. They do not know why it happens. It doesn't discriminate with age or ethnicity or gender. Children can have vitiligo. Adults can have vitiligo. The only one thing we really do know about this condition is that it does spread when you are stressed. So
Right.
if you, like any sort of skin condition, if people out there are suffering with eczema or psoriasis or, you know, acne even, sometimes these kind of conditions spread when you're stressed out. You know, all that stress is brought out onto the surface of your skin, and that's the way that your body kind of deals with it, and that's how vitiligo spreads as well. It can spread through stress.
Right. And so you were 21 years old when you first discovered it. How did you react to it?
Gosh, Sharon, I mean, like you know, your teenage years are like the best years of your life, right? I mean, when you're growing up, you're free. And when we think about like our lives now, we were sort of talking before this sort of podcast started, and we were talking about motherhood
Yeah.
and going through like, you know, raising a family and how difficult it is. When you compare that to when you're a child, I mean, there might be children that are going through difficulties at home. So I don't want to sort of say discount that and say that they might not have any difficulties, but in terms of the pressures that you're kind of under when you're, you know, when you're older in life, you're faced with a lot more pressures. So I would say when I was younger, you know, I had that freedom, that liberation to kind of, you know, be free in who I was, dress how I wanted to. I love dressing up. Like, I still love dressing up. I'm still a girly girl, like putting on my makeup and getting ready. And when I got vitiligo, it was all of a sudden, you know, 20 years ago, oh my God, this is embarrassing. I'm like,
Mm.
I can't show anyone my skin. Like, what are people gonna think of me? Like, if I go around showing this white patch of skin on my body, what are cousins and family and aunties and uncles and people gonna say?
Yeah.
They're not gonna say, oh, can you saw any look the They're not gonna make comments like that, because, you know, it's easier if I hide it. So I hid it. I found out about camouflage makeup, and over like 10 years, I perfected my camouflage makeup. I went to see makeup artists. I went to see a makeup artist who's very well known in the Indian makeup industry, Patti Panu. I did a makeup class with her. I had a one-on-one session with her and learned how to camouflage my skin so you couldn't see one spot of makeup, one spot of patch on my skin. Like, I was so I was so focused on covering up my skin because I
Mm.
didn't want anyone to see it. I didn't want my parents to go through all that chat and conversation behind their backs about, oh my God, बेचारी नु की हो गया no, बेचारी नु की हो गया, hi, and all of that kind of rubbish. I didn't want them to experience any of that. So I wanted to protect them and I hid it.
Yeah.
And, you know, I didn't talk about it to anyone. I didn't talk about it with anyone because I thought, you know, this is just going to cause more stress. And I didn't know how to deal with it. So the best way for me to deal with it was to pack it up in a box and keep it within my side, within myself. Because if I packed it up in a box, like, you know, sometimes you pack your thoughts up and you put them under a bed.
Yeah.
For me, it was pack it up, but I kept it within myself, and that was horrendous. It was horrendous, Sharon.
That's it. Asian culture, right? That's how we are brought up to deal with anything. Just don't worry about it. Just don't say anything. Just we'll deal with it, or you'll deal with it yourself. You know, we were so, I think, especially I think 70s and 80s children um were really caught up with just keeping secrets and keeping things so hidden, even though it's eating you up inside, even though you're feeling quite isolated now and vulnerable. But, you know, the pressure of the name of the family and honor is so high, isn't it?
And I think anyone watching this, it's not even about skin. Like, I think anyone watching this podcast between you and I will be able to resonate with it if they have gone through not being accepted for, you know, marrying outside of their religion, or looking different, or having a visual skin condition, or having a disability, because, you know, you had to keep up the pretense.
Yeah.
And it was all about, you know, keeping up our family pretenses. And I sometimes don't, I mean, I look back and I don't blame our family's generation, because that's how they were brought up and that's what their traditions and beliefs were. And I'll never hold it against our older generation or say negative comments, because when they came to the UK, they came with hopes and aspirations. My parents came from Kenya, from Nairobi, and they came here with hopes and aspirations, and all they wanted was the best for my sister and I. And, you know, and that was part of their upbringing and their values and beliefs. And it just means that, you know, how we were brought up was, and how we are brought up in the UK is different. And it's how we integrated ourselves and how we adapted to our new way of life, and how we were brought up to all these different customs. And I don't think there's any harm in speaking out. I mean, more and more people are speaking out about visual conditions, hidden conditions, you know, mental health is a big one.
Yeah.
And I think, if anything, it's to encourage anyone out there that, you know what, it's good to talk. It's good to talk about how you're feeling. I suppressed it for 21 years because I tried to cover up and protect my family from hurtful comments.
Yeah.
Because our community can be hurtful. They
Yeah.
can say things without thinking,
Yeah. Yeah.
because it isn't their way of doing things. It isn't normal. And I think if we understand that they're not, sometimes when people make comments, they may not realize the extent of what they're saying because of their normality, what's normal to them.
Yeah.
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 Vitiligo is not normal to them. So when you start speaking out about it to people and start educating and talking about it, people start understanding it, rather than judging and thinking, right, she's eaten fish and cheese, or she's mixed the wrong food, or her mum's given her the wrong thing to eat,
Yeah. Yeah.
without judging you, you know?
Yeah. Definitely.
So yeah, for me it was hard, really hard. When I was 21, I was like in my last year of university. I had everything to live for, and it really felt like I just wanted to curl up in a ball and hide.
Yeah. How much how much did it change? How much did it change you?
So, you
So you
know,
built up your confidence, your self-esteem. But I mean, did it when I say how's it did it change you? Did it change the way you looked at yourself? You know, did it change the way you dressed? Did you know, like did you become a person that you didn't recognize?
do you know what, Sharon? When I started working in the city, because before teaching I was working in corporate banking. And you know how it is, like in certain parts of London, like Canary Wharf is very much like a prestigious, like pretentious area of London to work in. You can imagine all these women dressed up in nice dresses, wearing nice outfits to work, and there's me, like absolutely like besides myself, because I'm like, what do I wear? You know, it really affected my confidence. My confidence was like thrown out the window, because I didn't want people to look at me, you know, in hot summer months when it was hot and sticky on the underground. You know, what do? I can't take off my jacket. I can't take off my jacket because people are going to look at me. I can't wear sandals. People are going to look at my feet. I can't, you know, I can't wear minimal makeup. So I'd wear proper makeup and I'd be sort of dripping sometimes with makeup down my face because it was so hot on the underground. Like these kind of situations made me feel uncomfortable. But I chose to hide it because I didn't want people to judge me.
No.
And so I did it in workplaces. I did it in, like, you know, in the community when there were functions to go to. And I found it really hard to cover up. Because, you know, if there was a family function and I'd go to Southall to get an outfit, everything would be sleeveless.
Yeah, it is.
Everything was sleeveless, right? And I'd look at all the mannequins and on the shop windows, and I think, can I actually be bothered to go into the shop? They're not going to have anything with long sleeves on it. And even on my wedding day, I had to get my outfit specially stitched because I didn't want to wear stuff that showed my skin. I had to cut out certain things like the maya because I didn't want people to do the whole ceremony, you know, because I didn't want people to touch me. So there were certain things where during living with this condition, it really did take over my life. It took over my life hugely.
And did you tell anyone? Were you able to confide in anybody?
So at that time, my sister was like obviously really close to me and still is, and she was kind of going through this with me, my mum and dad, and my few close friends. 4 of my best friends kind of knew about it, but because I was going through all these different emotions and feelings, I pushed them all away. How are they going to understand, right? You've grown up with these best friends and they all rock and they all, like, you know, by your side, but how are they going to understand when they're not in it? They're not going to understand when I say, oh my God, I've got a new patch, or there's a new patch of skin. Because what it was it started off like a beauty spot. That's how small it was.
Right.
Within 6 months, it became a 50p piece. And then about 8 months after that, I got lots more 50p pieces around my body. And then they started merging and getting bigger and bigger. So you just get a picture. And I will show you on the podcast my arms. Actually, I always wear sleeveless clothing, but I decided to put this top on because I haven't actually worn it for ages. So look, my arms now are all white.
Oh, right, I see. Yeah,
it's all white. My face, it's still quite patchy. You can sort of see. I just want to sort of show it clearly so you can see, because I'm not actually embarrassed to show my skin. I'm wearing like a little powder this morning because I when I do the school run, sometimes I put a little bit of powder on, but you can still see
woman that what likes to wear makeup, you know.
Yeah, I still wear. I mean, it's funny because I wear less. I wear a lot less like I used to before. It'd be like full foundation and full coverage every day. And it's really funny though saying that, because there's like a couple of people at work and they don't have a skin condition at all or whatever, like they've got nothing, but yet they come into work with like really thick foundation, and I sometimes look and think, God, you don't need it, but you never know what someone is hiding and why they're covering up their skin, you know. So I never question it when I see women wearing makeup, and like, oh, before I'd be like, oh, she's wearing so much. I think, hang on a minute, you never know why they're wearing that makeup, what they're covering, what makes them feel good. And if they want to wear it, if it makes them feel good, each to their own, you know?
But it also just shows you like insecurity, like, you know, the amount of like struggle that you've gone through. Yeah, actually, you've become, if anything, like it's made you become the woman you are today. And yet there's still people out there that don't have these conditions, but have so much insecurity and lack of confidence as well. It just so can I ask, what was the point that made you speak out about it? What was the real push that that you'd had enough of hiding your.
Yeah. 2016 was a turning point because I did this documentary for BBC One, and it was about skin, called Misfits Like Us. If anyone wants to watch it, it's called Misfits Like Us, Not Fitting Into Society. I think it's still on BBC iPlayer. And it was a really huge step for me to take part in that, because I would be going on without my makeup and on my arms. So I did wear makeup for the documentary, but I didn't on my arms. And I came off set feeling so relieved that I'd actually gone on and shown my skin and talked about it in an open way. And I knew this would be publicised. So that was a first step. And also another huge turning point for me was when I fell pregnant with my daughter, because, you know, Sharon, I wanted to do all those baby classes. I wanted to do all those swim classes. I wanted to do activities. I wanted to meet mums and be myself. I didn't want to hide, you know, anything anymore, because I'd hidden my skin for so long from colleagues at work and friends. I didn't want to do that. And I wanted to have a fresh start. So we signed up at a local gym, and I started going to the gym, and there was some swim lessons on offer. And I was told that there would only be like 3 mums in the pool. There's 3 mums, and I was like, oh, maybe I could do this, you know, and this is an amazing experience, because it really allows you to bond with your baby. And I wanted to do all of these things, right? And I love swimming, so I thought, I've kind of stopped doing this for like a long time. Let me see if I can do it. Friday mornings were the slots for me. No one was in the gym at that time. It was really quiet, and that's when I took the plunge. So I did the baby classes, and once I took those pigeon steps, I realised, oh, do you know what? I can maybe do this. No one's really bothered. People are just busy looking at themselves. They're busy doing their own thing. I'm busy here with my daughter, and maybe I can just, I can do this.
Yeah.
This is actually what I talked about in my YouTube on Sunday. Actually, I talked about those the pigeon steps, taking these small steps, because it doesn't happen overnight.
No.
You know, you want to get to a certain place, whether it's skin you're going through, or whether it's you're going through, I don't know, a challenge in your life, or what situation at work. It doesn't happen overnight. You've got to keep working at it. It's like a relationship, right? I was saying before, you got to keep working at it.
Yeah, it's actually you're starting to fall in love with yourself, and you're starting to accept yourself, and that is becoming your own best friend. That is becoming, you know, changing your outlook and your perspective, and change does start with you, doesn't it?
And they say, you know, I mean, there's so much now about self-love, but honestly, I have really learned I've learned like it the tough way. I hated myself for so many years. I couldn't look in the mirror. And do you know, I remember sort of a couple of times going away with close friends of mine, and would go away. We used to make sure once a year we'd go away for the weekend together. And I remember, you know, we would spend so much time talking about my skin. And if I could look back, and now it's a lot harder for us to do these kind of meeting up once a year. And I look back and think, if only we just talked about other things when it came to me. But I'd spend all my conversations with friends talking about my skin, the new patch, you know, what's happened, what to wear, what I could wear to cover up. You know, they'd be like, oh, you know, helping me out with suggestions on long sleeve clothing. You know, the weekend would turn into planning things months before, because we, you know, I'd want an outfit for going out, an outfit for dinner, an outfit for, you know, it was all about covering up, but how to cover up. So I really did feel like I spent a lot of time talking about my skin.
It sounds stressful and draining. It sounds so emotional as well, and you know how it took over your life. The thought of showing people your true.
And so many people might sort of connect with this and think, you know what, yeah, I feel like I did this with my weight, or I feel like I did this with my hair, or I feel like I did this with, you know, the fact that, you know, I didn't feel confident in myself, or I was trying to look this way. So many times we see these images, right, on social media, and they really upset me. And they upset me a lot, Sharon, because I've worked with young people in a secondary school as a teacher for 16 years to see the impact of these images, of how they are affecting our young people. We've got girls, and we know that we want our girls to grow up feeling confident. Like my daughter's now 10, and all I do is talk to her about body positivity and about being confident in herself. And
It's
she's
normalizing those conversations, isn't it?
really tall
Absolutely.
for her age. And I think, God, I did some discussions on my Instagram a few months ago, and one girl who shared her story was kind of bullied for being too tall.
Mm.
And she shares that story, on my page. She's an Asian girl, and she was bullied for being too tall. And sometimes she's really beautiful, and I think to myself, my God, it could be a model or something. And she's bullied for being too tall. People are going to find reasons to troll, to bully, to make comments. But how do we instill that resilience and that strength in ourselves and our future and our kids? Our
Yeah.
kids, the children around us, our nieces, our nephews, our grandchildren. How do we instill that? And that's not just girls, it goes for boys as well.
Absolutely. And and you've it's actually people like you that have normalized it. Because my reaction to it is nothing. It's okay, I've seen it before. But because I've seen other people with it's not something that I would ever think would ever be an issue,
Yeah,
because it's people like you that have gone onto social media and sort of publicly said, look at me, these are the struggles I've had, I don't want you to go through it. And for me, it's actually very normal. I don't you know And is that how you're feeling now, like the fact that you're actually one of the pioneers of, especially on the socials that I follow in the South Asian community, that you're normalizing that this is actually very common?
yeah. I think since I started talking about it more openly, family and friends feel at ease. They
Mm.
feel at ease. And I realised, it's partly me. Hiding it was how I felt at that time, because I felt it was the right thing to do. But now that I'm talking about it, so many other people are coming out of the woodwork talking about things that are going on with their own bodies, within my family and within my friend circle. And it's amazing. I think, my gosh, this is brilliant. People feel comfortable to talk about how, what they're going through in their personal situations. So yeah, I do feel like this that I am normalizing it. There are so many other body positive people out there who are doing a great job. For me, it's really been about sharing my story, and also for people to be able to have their voice as well and say how they feel within the community. And this is why my Positively Diverse embraces that. And I have conversations with people who want to talk about, their challenges and how they've overcome these challenges and difficulties. Because once upon a time I was at a really difficult place, and I didn't have social media. I didn't have anyone to turn to that could guide me, that could support me in the way that there are platforms like that can offer that today to people. So I think it's really important that people know that there's support out there
Yeah, I agree.
for a range of conditions, not
Mm.
just vitiligo, for so many different conditions. But the worst thing you can do is to bottle it up. And by normalizing it, so many things have come out of this, that I'm just so proud of. Just taking part in different campaigns and media coverage and talking about it and raising awareness. It just has become this part of this whole big body positivity movement that is just opening up the eyes of people that don't understand these conditions. It's educating people.
Yeah. And I think as well, like, um, I I think you're beautiful as well. Like, this is what I mean. Like, I don't see it as a problem actually normalizing that actually the less you've covered up, I think the more beautiful you become. And actually a lot, we've got models like supermodels now with this condition. And as you say, I'm seeing more men with it as well, especially on social media. And I don't see it as something. I still see beautiful models. I see beautiful people. And yeah, and I think that's part of, because I see it now quite regularly because of the socials that because we're so more connected now, aren't we?
We are connected. But having said that, Sharon, there are so many people out there who do still cover up. who wear loads of makeup, who filter their photographs before they put them on. That's, you know, everyone's got their own choice in life, and no one should be, you know, slated for it. I think we all do things because we do, you know, we do it to make ourselves feel good and comfortable. And you know, there are so many people who I know don't feel comfortable, and they need to put a lot of makeup on, and they need to cover that up, because if they don't feel confident with themselves. So I think we all have a choice in life, and I think, you know, as long as we respect other people, and we're mindful of, like, they might be going through a really difficult time, then we have a better understanding and acceptance of everybody's differences. I'm trying to do a lot more work within the South Asian community as well. I do find it a bit difficult to, you know, I think our generation are kind of really having conversations. So you're doing an amazing job, like, talking about cultural differences. I love what you're doing. I think it's brilliant. I think people wouldn't know that I'm in a, you know, in a different faith marriage, because my husband has got brown skin. You know, he's Indian, but essentially we are two different religions. And, you know, even though it doesn't show within our kids, you know, we do have those challenges as well when it comes to religion and stuff. And I think what you're doing is great. So I love the fact that you are talking about these issues, you're raising awareness and bringing this to the attention of the South Asian culture as well, and to everyone, because, you know, when we have that better understanding, it just creates more positivity, doesn't it?
Doesn't it?
Understanding.
Can I ask as well, what if you were given the opportunity for the condition to be taken away from you? Would you do it because of the door, so many doors that it's opened for you?
Yeah, this is such a great question. I love this question, because the answer is no. I wouldn't change my vitiligo, and that's not because of the opportunities I'm getting. It's because of the person I am now. I've shown my daughter that, do you know what? I've shown my daughter and son, the two most important little people in my life, that mummy's gone through this, right? And this hasn't stopped her from for being an amazing role model in a school that she teaches in, from pushing and driving her ambition forward to, you know, what she wants to do next in her life, from being a mum to my kids. My skin condition doesn't change that. From being a mother to my children, to being a daughter, all those things are the same, because I'm still the same person, and my skin doesn't change that. My skin has just added more resilience to who I am and made me a stronger person, and that is something that I've passed on to the two of them. So hopefully when they go through challenging moments, they can look back and say, okay, mummy has this visual skin condition, but she didn't hide it. It made her stronger. And surely that's got to be more powerful to all the children I teach at school, and my own kids, and to people on social media watching this, than anything else. So to be honest, it's 100% no. I would not change. I would not reverse my skin, even if that involved popping one pill and turning brown the next day. I wouldn't change it. And it was so weird, because a couple of weeks ago, I put on a full face of makeup. I did it because, where were we going? Not a couple of weeks ago, it was my birthday. It was a few weeks ago, actually. And I put makeup, full face of makeup. And I said, oh, you know what, kids, I just want to see what I look like. And the first thing my daughter and son said, well, why are you putting that on? You look really weird, mummy. They're like, take it off. You look really weird, mummy. They said I looked really weird with a full face of makeup. And I looked at myself and I'm like, I actually don't look right with this.
Feel weird. Yeah, I feel like it doesn't feel like me. Yeah,
it doesn't look right anymore. You know, if anything, I'll just put a bit of powder like I've done today, but you can still see Vitiligo. But I just thought, oh no. So I'm really looking forward to the next Indian family wedding that I have, because I'll be wearing a sleeveless outfit and probably hardly any makeup. And it won't be the sort of stress that I've had to kind of go through over the last few years, you know.
Yeah,
It's going to be quite liberating.
The positivity from you just radiates as well. Like, it's not that fact that you don't care, it's the fact that it's just this whole acceptance of yourself, that it truly is beautiful. And, you know, thank you for leading by example, especially with your children as well. It's massive, isn't it, to be that role model, because they're the people that really, if we want to if we want to seek validation or someone to be proud of, it's actually our children, isn't it?
You're right. You are so right. 100% right. And yeah, if we can do anything, like you said, it's just being confident in our own skin and who we are, in the person that we're in.
Joti, thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks, Sharon, for having
Hasn't it?
me.
It's gone so
Thank
quickly.
you. I've loved it. I've really loved chatting to you.
Hours, I think, definitely. Well, thank you so much, and thank you for coming on and sharing some of your struggles, but also really, really putting a positive note on, for people out there that aren't confident and are still trying to seek guidance and seek that sort of acceptance for themselves. I think it's really important, people like you having these conversations and normalizing these conversations as well. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Sharon. Thank you. And I look forward to speaking to you again soon.